I want to make this reading dedicated to John Gorski, who died on January 15th this year. The last time I read here was thanks to John, because he won a prize, and one of his rewards was to select 2 people to read, and I'm one of the 2 people he selected. So the last time I read here was due to John, so I want to honor his life and his poetry through being here. And if I would have thought of it, I would have brought some books of his to share, because I have some that were left over from his when he left. So anyway, I'm going to start with a place poem called New York Escape. It's in the first section of the book, which is called Fires Burn Our Tomorrows, which has a poem based on that title. But I'm going to read New York Escape. I'm a native New Yorker, and I moved here in '89 from New York City. This is after Matt Eifert Schroeder, who's a poet that came up and did a poetry workshop at Book Tree, and I stole one of his lines, and in each of the stanzas, that line is italicized, everything at once, always. New York Escape. Everything at once, always, said New York City, gloating at how much sits on its solid granite base, raised so long ago. Its electric lines buried beneath ground, no ugly wires overhead. We did it all early, built that subway, one line, then the next. We forget the order of everything once it arrives. Here now, everything in place, in its decay, it was always perfect at the beginning. It's hard to leave such an everything at once, always place. One gets stuck in the wonder, in the awe of clear sky, narrow between skyscrapers. Carrier pigeons inbred for sheer cliffs along an ocean. Their DNA recalls deep genetics. They taste their insides rotting from old bread fed to them by an elder on a park bench. One day they rise free. Some of us escape, resettle, take a deep breath, mingle with other birds, stand on a true cliff. No window washers on platforms, no poison put out to lure an early death. Here, there are no white flour crackers, no easy food that bloats. Here, we are prey. We forget that everything at once, always place. Now, with ourself, the same life and death, the innate satisfaction of the familiar, landed on sheer rock, a cliff, over the ocean we perch. This is a bit longer poem. It's called Poo-Pal Soup, which is the stage in the caterpillar where it's turning and it becomes a substance before it turns into a butterfly, Poo-Pal. So the epigraph is, in a dark time, the eyes begins to see. And it's basically about the pandemic, and that's a quote from Theodore Rothke. Oh, Theodore, had you been here with us these past years, to sit inside your greenhouse, so many sad, a dark time said to be surreal, a lie, but yes, out of the ordinary. Nature has always had its way with us. Eruptions, floods, fire. The cycle comes round with our raw commercialization. Too many choices. We take without care, blow off mountaintops. Expect oil, good times, freedom to fly. This rat race we've created, busy ants we destroy by progress. Slowed down, we passed one birthday, then another in lockdown. A year science caught up, created a vaccine, catered to our whims to serve us back to normal. Oh, Theodore, had you been here with us these past 3 years? The crawl pace filled with emotion, quiet nights we caught up on reading, time to write and stay home, that gift, the world became a still place. We moved online, opened up vistas, nuance a keen eye beholds. It is over. Let me lie down one more time, walk my neighborhood streets, remember this new pulse, pause, hear my heartbeat. Can we go beyond earning power expulsion, overdrive stress, everyone mad with survival of the fittest? Now is the time for reconsideration. Before we wield our way forward, can we see how we've changed? Oh, Theodore, had you been here with us these past 3 years? To question the good COVID has done for Earth, the many lives lost, this purge, nature's retribution to equilibrium, to regain a stake. We are light beings who must recognize other ways. We did our part, stopped a molecular minute, our pace worn into submission, our clock reset. There is a fine point of precision to expect death, eyes open to what is most valuable. The heart knows, the gut mind knows. Survival of the fittest, not a game, but a life changer. We have buzzed around like lost bees, tired, seeking a new hive and our queen bee. This is from the second section. I'm a little thirsty. If there's any water in the audience. Oh, thank you. So this is an autobiographical poem. I have 2 autobiographical poems in the book, and they're both in the second section, which is called Unresolved. There's a lot of family poems in this book. My mother died since my last book came out, so there's mother poems, family poems, sister had cancer, a lot of that. Thank you so much, Leopoldo. Appreciate it. But this is autobiographical. How I came to this world, and it's after Gregory Pardlow, who has an amazing autobiographical poem that I used as a template to write this and the inspiration to write this. It was a leap year on a Thursday. I was born upstate New York, Borscht Belt small town, to a family of farmers where covered bridges crossed creeks, 20 miles to the racetrack in Monticello, our nearest city. Where father worked for an air conditioning installation firm, the evergreen of the Catskills. A mother off seeking 4-leaf clovers, born to arrowheads and quartz, to blueberry bushes in back fields. I ran to frogs and salamanders across stone fences through wild woods. No eyes followed me. It was during the Cold War Red Scare, but I, a wild barn child, was unaware. Daddy's little girl, I wore patent leather shoes at Easter and blue velvet at Christmas. The cameo necklace mother gave me fell into a stream. I was a wild thing from go, feeling the velocity of wind. The night I came, a fierce push. I was born clear white, pastel perfect skin, with spit-on Irish blood and German ancestry. I was told to never acknowledge by a direct line uncle. The year I came, there was a storm brewing in the guts of women to have climaxes they've never reached. There was a surge to land on the moon. The atom bomb was introduced from Britain. Born in the year of the dragon, I knew it would be rocky. Not a song in the rain, nor the cotton candy fun world where mother resided. And next I'm going to go to another poem in this section. I'm reading 2 poems from each section, so I'm almost in the middle here. So I have a choice for this one. What page? Page 30. Oh, I'll read a mother poem. Family of Random Churches. Mother did not find me holy. Holy, 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 Allen Ginsberg wrote. He proclaimed our body holy to the asshole, a word I never heard my mother use till I rebelled. And she cursed me with words I never knew she knew. A churchgoer, she sought peace of mind at a Baptist church. Dunked, she insisted I get dunked too, her way to save me. My head immersed, my hair ruined. No, I said, enough. I was sprinkled as a baby at my father's Methodist church. Firm against her intrusion, I found my own church, Congregationalist. I was never an easy child, she said. Nothing smooth between us. After Dad died, she gave up, moved us to her childhood home in the city, let go her independence, her driver's license, swimming. Unable to live alone, the same way I need a partner. Avoidant, I resist love, push away anyone I need. Mother and I, never compatible, each buried under pain. We lost the love of our lives. Paralyzed from a stroke at a nursing home, she settled into watching Fox, became fundamentalist, our holy war over. This is a poem I wrote at the Vashon Writing Artist Residency. I was lucky to be there in March. It's just called Vashon Writing Residency, so it's another place poem. From my window, I watch Canadian geese on the lawn alongside Quartermaster Harbor. The couple walks daily, pecking grass, seeking food, holding each other company, till one day they have an argument, squawking, the wings on one flails wide, haranguing the spouse. What is wrong between them to set the universe askew? Easter Sunday, rain pours down. In my room, I transcend the diligent, working on edits. Waves choppy on the harbor. A 5-mile inlet filled with pollution years ago from a plant in Tacoma. The push of the sea knocks against the floating dock. In this shallow harbor, no marine traffic passes. Signs warn not to harvest toxic shellfish. Ducks, Canadian geese, and osprey can't read, so they feast. Broken shells litter the spit. I let go my goal to harvest dandelion when I learned the soil in paradise is toxic. Only raised beds are used to grow food. I enjoy the beauty, the daily sky, each sunset, the rise and fall of the shoreline, safe in a well-built house. We four share a solid commitment to our art, indulged in luxury, far from busy, cluttered lives. We nap when needed, welcome the nurturance we give each other, shared dinners, feasts of conversation, growing a closer bond to our work. And I'll finish with one more, which is sort of an end-of-pandemic poem. It's called There Was a Time. There was a time we stood together close with our laughter and serious expressions, a long hug for solace. We were one as a group, memories we hold, sitting over tea, picnics, fairs, potlucks, garage sales. We laughed till we cried. We made love for hours. found each other at art festivals, open houses, plays, music venues, and concerts. We beat drums at rallies, formed parades, danced disco till the bars closed. We need a new world. It is time to make change for the next generation to take over. So many good dying, but there is no end to good. We went to workshops in person, did yoga, contact dancing, bought gym memberships, traveled, gathered around a fire and a seda. We sang and prayed together. Now, slowed down, we move toward each other again. Thank you.
Today I'm going to read from my novel, I Never Dreamed You'd Leave in Summer, which on the 3rd of September it was announced that it is a finalist for a Washington State Book Award. Thank you. First thing I'll do is I'll read the back blurb, and we'll explain a little bit more, and I'll read 2 excerpts. Albert, a young black student with a troubled past, has been offered a second chance by the friends of his family and his late mother. Buoyed by the supportive working-class culture of a black beauty shop, he finds himself dodging campus politics and navigating community tensions while learning to face his own guilty conscience. But when scandal erupts, fate takes a complex turn that encompasses radical politics, sexism, and racism, and Albert is forced to reassess everything he thought he knew about dignity and absolution. Told through a series of letters between Albert and his mentor, I Never Dreamed That You'd Leave in Summer is a protest novel that breaks every rule of protest novels and leaves the reader with a complex parable on the question of grace, who needs it, who's scared of it, who runs from it, and who struggles to accept it. Thank you, and now I will read 2 excerpts. Let's see. Find the first one? All right. Professor Thompson, I had a great first day at the salon, and Miss Layla laid down the law with my ass. There will be no 18th little chances with me, nigga. I'm only doing this because it worked with Andre when Estelle sent him. But Andre didn't do time roughing up women like you. I like Dr. Everett nowhere near the way your family and internet niggas like Dr. Everett. But I love Andre, and I'm doing him and Estelle a favor. Don't embarrass them and make me regret it. Sitting in her main chair on the west side of the room, I was distracted by the colorful combs and picks sticking out of the neon blue jar and labeled Barbicide. I kept looking at them in front of a mirror covered in beauty product stickers and thinking they looked like weird garnishes in a rapper's drink, but snapped back when she surveyed her shop with her index finger. You have one in many jobs here, Albert. They are to do whatever the fuck the chair and the customers tell you to do. Some trucks come in the parking lot every day to serve breakfast sandwiches. Some trucks come in here to serve fish sandwiches. Some trucks come here to serve green vegan shit. Your job is to get whatever breakfast sandwich, fish sandwich, or vegan shit the people who sit in these chairs want. After that, your job is to do whatever the heads of these chairs say. I am the first chair. The second chair is Nona. The third chair is Aisha. And the fourth chair is Mancillas. I will not be here at times because I have to oversee business at my shops downtown and in the city limits and on the east side. In that duration, Nona, who is what? The second chair. Correct. Nona, who is the second chair, will be your God as much as I am now. Nona's gift with hair, customers, and creams have kept this shop afloat. Nona and Aisha run a book club here on Thursdays, and your job is to get them all the food and wine they need to get right. When Nona needs to go to Lowe's and University Place or South Tacoma to get art, you will escort to make sure men do not corner or harass. If you give any guff about Lowe's or her choices for art posters, I will cut the bacon off your back. I'm going to let you know that Nona used to be in a rap group. If you have any or discover any aspirations to be an MC or make it in rap, do not ask her a single question about that rap group, or I will cut the bacon off your back. The third chair, which is who? Aisha, her daughter. Correct again. Aisha, who is a genius at making highlights with Skittles colors work. Aisha, who will be with us after her shift, doing her studies, doing special hair weave orders, working on marketing for me because I don't know what the hell to do with these young people on the goddamn internet. If you flirt with her the way you flirted with that Jewish girl or flirt with her in any way, I will do what? Cut the bacon off my back. Exactly. The fourth chair, who is McLester. I said as I scanned the black hairstyle guidebooks on the magazine next to the couch. Wrong! She smacked her hand on the leather chair rest, snubbing me back to attention. Phrase it with me. McLester. McLester. I sounded the syllables the way she did. One more time. McLester. McLester. She gave the slightest nod of approval. McLester isn't as good with hair, but she is brilliant at doing feet and weaves that my black ass is too old to understand. When you are with her, you will help her with boxes that come in with the product that keeps this salon afloat. Your first job in the morning will be to iron her caftans. You will also escort her when she goes to plant her plant ornaments and pots and make sure they are clean every morning. McLester walks our customers to the bus stop just in case men corner or harass. You will help her in this and walk them into the bus stop in case if they ask you to. If you give her any guff on why these men are just being nice, I will do what? Cut the bacon off my back. Once again, correct. McLester used to be a man, but if she is coming to herself in her journey, you know this now, and if you call her Lester, you will cut the bacon off my back. I will do that and bust you upside your head. She said, raising a flask of Crown Royal to me. Your job here is to not burden them for a second. You are in a space to heal. Make our lives easier and pay your cosmic debt to society. You are not here to do whatever you want and fish for compliments. If you want to do whatever you want and fish for compliments, there are countless environments that will indulge you as such. You, however, are in mine. Thank you. I'll read this last one. I don't want to go over time. The book is $20. I can go to lowest 15. But that's the sale price for the night. This is Dear Professor Thompson, I'm sorry I blew up and got paranoid at you in the food bank. I'm also sorry that circumstances dictated we had to see each other again there. I just found out you quit the college and broke down on Black on the Block. Worse than that, I read the article that excoriated you for it. I just melted, man. Being excommunicated from the family is a fucking painful thing. I could tell you that firsthand, but to be roasted about it online and to be told you're not black and strong like by some legacy dudes when you've been strong in all your life. You told me what happened to you in these streets. You've been beat up and shit when you were younger. And you told me what happened to your moms. I'm so sorry you had to go out through the college like that. I like to tell you that I ignore the blogs and the articles related to Everett and the Squally incident, but I can't. I have to, though. I've been fighting the paranoia and the voices in my head for a while, and when I saw you, I just saw the unrelenting stress of those years. Even though I don't feel bad about going off on Everett, I feel bad that I called you a nigga. You were such a good mentor and so nurturing to me, and I shouldn't have gone half-cocked at you, especially because you were in the same food bank line as me. I'm trying to live a peaceful, quiet life away from the squally, but I'm going to testify for Judith next week. I have my routine. I take my daily sandwich I get from Aid or the food bank, and I read some of my mama's books, go home and act as a guard for the church ladies going in and out of Winthrop. I go home and watch TV if there's a bingo night at the VFW down the street. Because I help the bingo ladies get home safe, a couple of doughboys give me free weed. It's the best pain medication for me, to be honest. I try to go on the straight and narrow route, but the legal dope people in counseling put me on shit that makes my brain hurt. That shit makes my brain do weird things and it doesn't help. At least free weed makes me not faint and not think. And I really don't want to think. I go to the library to get the past out of my head, Professor. I'm trying to write the book that makes my mama's voice come back to me. I hear my mama's voice and I see her cry so much. She isn't taunting me as much as I'm trying to acquire the skills to get her to say it's okay, to get her to forgive me. But I know I can't. So I'm just trying to acquire the skills to get everything in my life right, to hear her voice guide me like you say you hear your mother's. I sometimes see Aisha and Mancillas at the library and it's a bit contentious. I had to yell at them to stop staring me down. I can't say enough times that I get why I got kicked out of the salon, but I'm in the library at the free computer lab right now trying to live the rest of my life. There's no reason to reenact their disappointment and their rage at me every time we cross paths, and I honestly wish they'd leave me alone. Reenacting disappointment and rage just seems like a common theme in my life over the last year or two. So when I'm not on depressive spirals trying to find out about the Everett case, I keep my mind totally light, almost all YouTube funny clips. At night, I make the best of my basement life. From the bottom windows of the Winthrop, the lights go in and out of the overworked power grid, jarring some neighbors, but keeping all but the most eager to visit away. I'm at the bottom of the old hotel turned tenement house. It was used as a storage room until the manager decided to give it to me for respite care, then Section 8. I got a tidy arrangement aside from the lights. Built-in shower rods nailed to a metal panel. Next to them is a makeshift record player and a stereo next to his room. To the right side of his extensions are a small refrigerator and a portable heater, both on type of cinder blocks. In the center of the space is a table, a couch, 4 chairs, and an old typewriter. It's a life, dog, and I live it. I spend my days trying to become a better writer when I'm right and trying to forget the world when I'm wrong. I hope that we can talk again someday, Professor. When I see you again, let's walk to the food bank. I hear you got a job at the bar. I don't drink anymore, but I do some things at the library, and I'd love to see you there. We can talk about life and books like we used to, or at least go for a walk. I don't regret the best times we had. I don't regret what I learned in college, especially with my memories with you and Judith. I want to catch up with her again someday. It's that for all the social media and cultural stress of the school, she doesn't need me right now to add any more. I've just been too sick to go over there. I'll help you in these new streets if you help me process this shit. I have a lot to process, man. One more thing. I'm going to give you some life game. Go home and say you're sorry to the shop. They love you, brother. They will take you back. Just dump the highbrow Hotep Africa shit and start over. This is my gift to you. My penance for years for being a fuck nigga. Thank you very much.
Well, as you heard, my first name is Sigrun, which is an Icelandic name. So as a bonus tonight, you get to learn a little Icelandic because in Iceland, poets are the most celebrated people. And so I've written a couple poems celebrating Iceland. So the first poem is called Learning Icelandic because I have studied Icelandic and have tried to learn it. So I'm going to give you a little taste of Icelandic. So in this poem, there's a word huldufolk. And huldufolk are the little people or the hidden people in Iceland. And they figure very, very prominently, even today in Icelandic society. People worry about the huldufolk. You probably heard that, they go to build a highway, and whoops, there's a big rock, and people say, you can't touch that rock because the Hulda folk live there. And so today, even today in Iceland, in contemporary, very modern Iceland, they're still very careful about the Hulda folk. So in this poem, there's a Hulda folk. Hunin and Munin are in this poem, and they are the names of two ravens. You'll see them. I have the word Hester, and that's a horse, and a kinder is a sheep, a bondi is a farmer, and a husmother, you can probably figure out who that is. A husmother is a house mother or a housewife. Okay, so Learning Icelandic is the name of this poem, and the epigram is, imagine you come to an island in the Mediterranean where everyone spoke Latin. And that's kind of what it's like in Iceland. Everyone speaks Icelandic. Actually, they also speak English, but all right, so everyone speaks Icelandic. In this language, we believe in ghosts that scratch at the window, blow out the candle, frighten the cat. We listen for the Hulda folk that hide in knobby lava, live in moss and mister. They tease the dog, torment the sheep. Now they scramble across my open book. Their mischief sticks burrs in my tongue. Words thicken in my mouth, cling to the page, thorny and dark, shift shape for gender, case, and inflection. Letters are like bird tracks in the snow. A witch lives in the rock. Learn her name, and the names of the two ravens, Hunin and Munin, that Odin gave the gift of speech. They fly over the earth, sit on his shoulders, whisper in his ears all he would know of the world, of the Hestar in the kinder that graze on the croft, and the housemother at her wheel, spinning the coarse threads out, how the bondi look out at the sea to the fishermen in their small boats, their sails set in to a bitter wind. And this is a poem about my grandmother, and a grandmother is called an amma. So my amma baked brown bread. Amma's brown bread. All the elements are here, earth, wind, air, and fire. From the oven, the loaves come, brick-shaped and heavy. The first slices coated with butter we eat by the warm wood stove, our mouths full of grain. No talking. We negotiate coarse lumps, grind them with our teeth. We can only chew and chew and chew the dark substance tasting of earth, rye, wheat's long golden grasses, roots burrowed in darkness, soil and rain. My grandmothers down through generations baked this bread. They taught me this food can save your life. Their hands kneaded the moist dough, loaves for those that drag themselves 1,000 winters across frozen landscapes inside their own bodies. This aching hunger, you will be lonely. This is the hardest bread, but it will keep you alive. When Mother took her hair down in order to wash it, we gathered round to see it fall nearly to her knees. The strangeness of it. She was an ancient sorceress. Her hair fell in wondrous waves. We imagined what could live there in the dark curtains. Small animals, fairies perhaps, ladders for Hulda folk who built homes in her tresses. We paid peekaboo through its drapery until she shooed us so she could wash it. Then she sat before the fireplace to let it dry, bent forward so it cascaded. We could see the fire through it as she brushed. We huddled close to her feet for warmth. She brushed and brushed. We asked to help, but our small hands did not have the strength to handle its thickness, its body. Then she gathered it up and braided it in that funny way of hers. She held a strand in her mouth, fixed two thick braids, then wound them round in that style of her Icelandic mother. She looked old-fashioned and regal, like a visitor from a faraway country where nature is cruel and a woman is prized for the hair on her head. Now I'm going to read, and that poem is also in this book called Drive, which is a newly published book. This is very autobiographical. So it's really about my family, growing up in my family, my strange family. My father was a professional Navy man, so we lived all over the country, traveled around a lot. From one coast, San Diego, Seattle, to Jacksonville, Florida, to Rhode Island, to Washington, D.C., back to San Diego, back and forth to where the Navy went. And so you will hear the Navy here. You will also hear a lot about gambling. My father was a gambler. And so our life was very erratic, very up and down. He was also a pilot, a flyer. He was in the war. Eventually, I lost my parents in a plane crash where he was the pilot. He was over at Nia Bay. But that comes later. It's in this book also, but anyway, that's later. So I'll begin with looking at my father. When I was a child, I never tired of looking at my father. I could not get enough of the large haul of his forehead, his black hair and widow's peak, dark brows, his eyes, irises, glittering toward black, a hunter's eyes. The whites lightly stained, lashes like thickets. From his spot on the plain, he took in everything, the landscape, positions of targets, landing decks on carriers at sea. His nose straight, his mouth neither full nor flat, filled with talk, lies, and stories, blinding curses. His locker held uniforms, summer whites, winter blues, gold stripes on the sleeves. Dressed to fly in a leather flight jacket, white parachute silk at his neck, I would gaze in adoration. Sometimes during air raid blackouts, he would cradle me, dance music playing in the dark, the radio's bright eye covered. I liked the size of him, the biggest thing in our house, and the most dangerous. The Orange Cessna. Today we have the sky to ourselves, immense, faultless, and blue. We head over the Sound, the islands below us, deep green water lilies. At altitude, he flies airshow maneuvers, barrel rows, fast like a roller coaster. We rush up one side, upside down, held by our seat belts, then down. Clutching the edge of my seat, heart hammering, dry-mouthed, I glance at my dad. Flying kindles a light in him. His eyes shine. He's always been turned on by speed. Fast cars are racing boats, by the close whisper of death, the way some people love to start fires or balance on wires strung high between buildings. It's part of him, like his black hair and brown eyes. Now he points the nose straight up. We climb a vertical wall of air. The engine coughs and stalls out. The plane hangs for a moment in silence. He points the Cessna down in a nosedive. We do this over and over. Dad laughs in the open face of the sky. He doesn't care if I'm frightened. He's not that kind of dad. When I saw him, the deer was roped to the hood of the car. The slender head rested there. Flies gathered at the glazed eyes, at the corners of the mouth. He had a fine brace of antlers, dark bones branched like birch trees. I searched to find the places where the bullets entered, where the dart flew in, the spirit flew out. Small holes, the fur around them stiff with blood. I patted the deer as if to comfort him, the pelt thick and rough where I touched. Soon he will be split, haunches from sternum, then dressed with a knife. The knife will slice abdomen and rectum, will slide through fascia, split buttock from leg, muscle from bone, wrapped in brown paper and frozen. Food we will consume all year. Without ceremony, we will gather around the table. I will eat the wild meat, and slowly it will become my own body. The big winner. Pit bosses bowed as he passed. Gamblers reached out to touch him for luck. I watched as Dad came to get me from the teen lounge. 2 tall hookers attached to his arm, he dusted off like horseflies. His pockets bulged with chips. He took me with him to the cashier's window, where he lined up the chips by value, so many columns, so many rows, exchanged for hundreds of Franklin's faces. Bills flashed to a fan, then fanned into his stack, some to his boot, some to his wallet. All that money, just like that. We drove into the desert dark, past dazzling neon, white trumpeting fountains, to one of the Strip's ritzy all-night boutiques, where it was 3 o'clock in the morning and always midday. Mom and the kids asleep at the motel. Get your mother something nice, he said. Nothing in Las Vegas was anything like my mother. Okay, I think that's about my time. I'll read my last poem. This last poem I'm going to read is a sestina. You guys all know what a sestina is. You know, you take 6 words, 6 stanzas. Okay, this is called We Regret Your Poem. You poets will love this. We regret your poem. Your poem was not accepted. We regret yours wasn't one of the poems we loved. We liked an image here and there, words you used in repetition, but the numbers of poems you send are way beyond our needs. We hope you find another press that will like you more than us. Our press is just not interested in your work. We regret to say that while we understand your need for recognition and know you would love readers for your poems, the numbers of pages, the volume, and the words and signs in Sanskrit baffle us. We need to find good poems that don't depress us. We want to grow the numbers of our readers, expand our pages, and regret that people send us poems we can't love. For our peace of mind, our health, we need to reject the barrage of poems from needy poets like you. All those empty words. We once imagined tranquility and love. Instead, we read too much and grow depressed, and sometimes lately we regret we ever started. We have considered numerous ways to halt your scribbling. I'll not enumerate them here. Stop submitting poems. You need to find another line of work. You may regret sending us any more poems or words on any subject. We may even press charges against you. We would love it if you forget our address. Find love somewhere else. We will not number here the ways we suffer. Do not press us on this matter because we really need to find some peace from your chatter, your words. Remember this, you will regret contacting our press. Though we love poems, we regret we don't like them in the numbers we get from you. We need to take a break from words, words, words. Thank you.
She said I should read this. I read it in 2010 after we took out the big holly tree in which the birds used to serenade us awake. And it goes like this. In the space where the holly tree stood, home to hundreds of birds who sang us awake each morning, we now follow the path of fish. Water lettuce floating, the waterfall sounds. In the space where the holly tree stood, the sun now shines on the climbing akebia or chocolate vine, the glorious Chilean glory vine, while somewhere hundreds of birds sing in the shade of another tree. In the hole where the holly tree stood, a stubborn, twisted stump stayed, bigger over time, deep-rooted, resisting termination, demanding justice, redemptive suffering, the life lived, the life given before giving way to the axe. In the space where the holly tree stood, 7 golden comets and 3 speckled koi, now lollygag and chase tails round and round the water lettuce, oblivious to history. For them, and now for me too, it is as if this moment had always been just like this, just right, just so, just in time.
Starting up again. As Leopoldo mentioned, today is a very somber day. We look back 23 years ago with what happened on September 11th. And it's particularly, I want to begin by a little story before I do my poem. About 3 or 4 weeks after September 11th, I was back in New York City with a friend of mine. I work at iHeartMedia in KJR, and I was back there covering the Seattle Mariner New York Yankee baseball playoff series. After 2 or 3 weeks of national mourning, everything was shut down, and then things started to get back. So we flew to New York, and we were told that media could tour Ground Zero. So my friend Dave and I went down there, and it was all, fences and a lot of police. And so we said, where do we go to get a press pass, a media pass, to be able to go inside and observe? And they said, well, it's a weekend, and so you can't apply until Monday, and then it's going to be 3 days before you get approved. Well, the series ended on Sunday, and we were going back on Monday, so that didn't work. So I said, well, can I take some pictures around here? And they said, no, it's a federal crime scene. You can't take any pictures. Oh, okay. So Dave had to go to a bodega to get some money from a cash machine. We went into the bodega. He got his money, and accidentally we went out the wrong door. We went out the back door, where we suddenly found ourselves inside the perimeter. Well, Dave is kind of a crackpot, and he says, let's see how far we can go. And he said, we got our media credentials on from, Major League Baseball. And I said, but this is not a baseball stadium. So we go about 3 blocks, and then there's another fenced-off area, and there's a guard shack, and there's a guy in there. And I said, well, we're not going to get past this guy. And Dave, again, kind of a strange guy, he said, follow my lead. So we go up, and he goes, hey, how you doing? Has been many people by here today? And the guy says, no, just a few. Okay, have a nice day. And we suddenly go in. So we've breached the second line of security. And we go in about another three blocks, and there's 3 FBI men standing there with jackets saying FBI. And I said, oh, man, if they find out we're not who they think we are, we're going to federal prison. And he again, went up, slapped the guy in the back, and, how you doing? You need any coffee? You need anything? You guys are good? Good, good. And we just kept walking, and I'm just, I don't know what to do. Well, we go another block, and we turn the corner, and we are overlooking the pit where men in cats are still digging for bodies. The smell was absolutely putrid. Smoke was still rising. And I thought, well, we're here now. I'm going to take some pictures. So I took some pictures. I posted them today on Facebook. I do that every September 11th. And for 10 years after that, I would go back to New York. I had a woman friend of mine, and we would make a walk from, we followed the path of the survivors from 9/11 up to Midtown Manhattan. And I would write poetry about it. And I wrote one today, and I'll share a couple of other short ones that I've written over the years. This is called Indelible Memories of September 11th. It's been 23 years since the changing of time, since the beginning of now. It was 39 days later as I stood at the edge of the mouth of the open earth, standing silently where I should not have been. Dead center, ground zero, inside the perimeter with indelible memories now etched in my soul, as I watched the workers digging through the rubble for the remnants of yesterday. The wounds were still raw, the ground still smoldering, the dead were still being recovered deep in the pit. Sick to my soul, tears blinding my vision, I took photos with my camera and I took photos with my heart. And the end continues. As time has passed quickly for most, yet time has passed slowly for the many. To those left behind who continue to die from the deadly cancers, from the badly broken lives. 2,753 died on that day as the Twin Towers tumbled, and thousands more families and friends left behind continue to die day by day. For far too many, every day is September 11th. And this one was written in 2009, called Candles and Matches. And again, we used to walk and we'd bring candles and we would try to commemorate the fallen as best we could. Candles and matches, memories and flames. It's September 11th again. It's September 11th still. With never-ending agony, with never-ending pain, as a nation pauses to remember what an invincible city can never forget. Flowers and prayers, thoughts and sorrows. It's been 8 years since time stood still. It's been 8 years, and still time stands as the reflections remain and the remains continue. Firemen stand at attention amidst the flowers, the prayers, the poems left by the wall in tribute to those who are gone but will never die, to the families that die time and time again. And so we walk to remember what we must never forget. Candles times 3, love times 1. Somberness is deafening, with scars and sadness, with tears and rain. Gramercy Tavern, first place, last stop, looking deep within the hearts of the city of New York, in the land of the free, because of the brave. And so it goes, and here we must stay. And the final one was written in 2007. So many years, called September Sadness, so many years since the beginning of time, since that moment in time when it stood still. Another journey from then until now through the streets of Soho, Chinatown, and Little Italy, with candles laid to burn in Union Square. Where does the end begin? Where does the beginning end? Where and why? And how did we get to where we are, so far away from the land of the free? September 11th, and we walked together, living and dying in the shadow of terror, in the darkness of time, remembering those who survived and those who are still partially dead. Ground zero at dusk, just a concrete space behind a prison fence, as the wanderers watch and the watchers wonder who the prisoners really are. Reflections of love, of life, of loss, in artificial light, as America walks by and the spinning wheel spins and the tides rise and fall, as once again fall is shrouded in sadness. So on and on we walked to Gramercy Tavern, the first since the last after the first, an Epicurean refuge from space and time, only to look back as we walked forward, stopping for a while, staring into space, holding our breath, waiting for another day to emerge on the other side of the night. Thank you very much.
So I'm reading for Jennifer Carassco, whose maiden name is McCabe. Jennifer would like me to introduce myself as well, even though I don't want to, but I'll do it. I'm introducing my friend Ciara, who will read for me. Ciara assists the elderly and persons in need here in Seattle who reside at home or in senior living by providing various non-medical caregiving services. Ciara works directly with people to enhance their quality of life while also providing a sense of relief for their families. Ciara started her own business to honor the memory of her aunt with Alzheimer's. And Ciara was formerly the first bass musician for the Irish National Symphony in Cork, Ireland. I have 2 poems to read for you this evening. First one is Ireland's Snakes. For the woman who found her walking stick on the treeless hills of Ireland. Ireland's Snakes. In the dark, the peat trembles with fugitive snakes. The branches that push out from the center in the warping of weather and heaving of rock. They search for the cloud light, the round eye of God and his breathing, the wind that glides over the mountains and moors. O dark, growing spare and granular, as sun seeps through tree fragments and dinosaur bones, and wood snakes twist up to shine shrill as whistles on the green, weeping meadows of Ireland. Those branches are sterling. Light transforms them to emblems, to wrap on the necks of sad Eves or be crushed by the feet of the Virgin. In this land of no trees, where vipers have fled from the saint, this musician has found the last serpent, shining staff for her roaming, plain song as her chant. The wind ceases. Dies irae, resurrexit, sicut dixit. Undulant wood, minor notes trace silver paths in the grass. Ireland's bones. Between 1925 and 1961, over 9,000 babies died in Ireland and were buried in unmarked graves in convents housing unwed mothers who were forced to remain as servants for the nuns. Ireland's bones. Clickety click. The bones in the peat, the bones in the graveyards, intone constant measures all over Ireland. Baby bones sound a poor crackle in graves in the convents where their mothers were trapped by shame and disgrace. The warriors and kings have markers of stones carved in intricate patterns. They rest righteous in graves blessed by the priests. Men, feckless, absolved, and buried with honor. Sonorous beasts. Proud drums resound. History honors the killers, seducers. Their bones boom and pound from their tombs. The baby bones rattle, clickety, clackety, a sad ticking cadence, trailing behind the banging, the swagger of bones from the warriors and triflers. Baby's thin clatter joins the slow pulse, the dirge in the hearts of the mothers, eternally scrubbing the floors of the nuns. Clickety, clackety, click.
I think you'll recognize this is mid-August, difficult weather in West Seattle after a long drought. This morning, the air felt different, cleaner. The sky, a belt of baggy clouds interspersed with blue. Last night's storm entered with heavy winds and lightning, with enough force to make our sturdy home shake. We needed this rain. After weeks of brown stubbled grass and wilting leaves, all of us parched, hungry for water. Rainy season not yet begun, yet hints of August hang in the air. Not August, hints of autumn hang in the air. And this one is a little bit embarrassing to read. It's an attempt at a love poem for a very good friend of mine, and it was inspired by Annie's song by John Denver, You Fill Up My Senses. Joy in your presence tastes like biscotti, how it softens when dipped in the heady aroma of black coffee. Joy with you sounds like the swelling timbre of the tuba in a Labor Day parade. Feels like nubby cotton on an Argyle sweater, warm, cozy, colorful. Joy in your presence feels like dark, foresty chocolate, or like the first hint of fall, how its subtle kiss hangs in the air. Joy with you reminds me of a game I played as a child with Puries, Aggies, and cat's eyes. I can still recall the satisfying click they made on contact. Thank you.
Self-portrait as a customer service rep. Maybe the sun will shine through the office window, a color wheel pushing back on a roller chair in the afternoon. I will walk through its splintered beams into a dream to, inch by inch, escape this ringing red sun-made box and its unsurprising contents, little globes, drained and dried. Don't tell the customer. I used to count the raisins before I ate them on the path, less taken, the median, or the water under the bridge. According to Andrei Codrescu, art is the project of creating the unfamiliar, shocking, and unsurveyable as a poet, which is a kind of artist. I could ignore the phone ringing, walk into a storm, out from under the bridge, turn my umbrella upside down, watch the ripples expand. Call it a urinal for acid. Don't tell the bosses. Rain. In the end, the rising sun sets on the opposite side of the world. In the end, I'd prefer another land of the new rising sun, land of the old rising sun, land of the many rising suns, the many lands of the setting sun. Yeah, you can clap if you like to, it's okay. Right? Self-portrait with a creative block. I have no ideas, but I have a pen and a notebook half, full of scribbles and doodles and 100 or so words to choose from, to put forth in the world where they might get lost in rivers like pages or minds, or be between lines and fill themselves with what they find. They will go out and play in branches and amongst roots, visit dance halls in dirty boots, smell creme de violette, jig, and salsa, learn the saxophone, and feel alive. They will come to hurt, but they'll learn to sing with the caged bird under a starry night in the off-key of life about ordinary pain. No doubt, in fact, they will face chains and learn to break them with the day, and come moonrise, learn to say, won't you celebrate with me? We are somewhere between starshine and clay. Thank you. Thank you. That last line was from Lucille Clifton. And there were references to a few other people, not all poets, some musicians and painters in there too. I'll do one more. Self-portrait as waste. The skeleton is in lotus, and most skeletons have flesh when they're buried. This one, with air growing from its soil-filled skull, plant been dead about 4 or 5 months and inches tall. Grave in the graveyard of all graveyards, taking the hearse of all hearses there, with broccoli stalks and spoilt spinach to make a sage green stink, on the way in the pickle green truck to the dump where shattered rainbows of plastic duration melt and freeze and stink, not of death nor decay, but of an alien rhythm, long-term, non-circadian, vision of which I have none, but I feel, for the trifle anyway, sent to its own purgatorio or dark enigma. Thank you.
Before you're reading from a book that's pretty special to you. Can you say a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. This is the first galley proof of my first book, which will be coming out in like a month or so, probably. So thank you. I'll be back here probably a few times before this, but also in March, when I will almost certainly have a bunch of copies. So if you liked it, come in March.
My name is Azlan. I am an artist of many sorts. I figured it'd be fun to share something. This is called Release Me From Your Fear. In a world gripped with fear, I find my hands releasing from an existence of quivering cells, choosing my own destiny, deciding how I respond to information received. There is no slave in me, though even my ancestors were shackled in chains. Perspectives remain with destinies in frame that future grains of self would one day find a way to claim freedom. And we've arrived inherently at that Garden of Eden, carting seedlings of intuition through the levels of life's inception. Martyred feelings of depression sparked a healing of the soul's questions through generations of lessons, and it's mostly just perspective. I could wallow in insecurities, never furthering my maturity, or I could swallow what's been procured for me, embracing it all to learn and teach without the circumstances being different. This reality is a figment of a fascination, a playground within a matrix of some being's creation that exists in its equivalent of what we know as the mind. We are bound into this mental book of time with endless riddles to climb through. The truth is this mystery that sometimes blinds you with how bright it can shine through, but can just as easily hide too. Shadowed, confined, aloof. The edges of that coin have been completely refined smooth. It can transition as quickly as our minds do. But that's part of the fun too. If everything was clear, we'd miss the colorfulness of a mood. If every quest came with answers, the story would then conclude. So thankful that the moment persists, grows, and moves with a circadian rhythm, repeating patterns and rearranged positions so that what was once her answer is now mine and then yours. Derivative. This realm moves based on what you give to it. If you keep diving into the same inlet, how do you ever expect to get to anything different? If you want to rearrange the order, your borders have to be reimagined, whilst it all hurls forward, billowing flames out of a dragon, in blistering, burning fashion, coaxing the magic in, equipped with the sorcerer's passion, emitting the source of past ashes to amass, alas, enchanted visions through amber glasses. When you are ready, you will unclasp from what you've been grappling with and receive your sacrament. Thank you.
Okay, my name's David K. Ray. This is called The Lizard Falls for Her Slither. The lizard resisted at first, but wanted to know more. How she swirled and swam in the dust. How she carried forward by winding sideways and moved her glassy eyes just enough to spare herself the distraction of sadness. Upon her entrance, the regulars at the watering hole gasped. She drank elegantly and tongued the air. She then coiled on a rock, lovely in her lavish scales. her shimmering body like a windpipe living free, or a flute with all its music forever held inside. When the lizard gave a non-committal head bob, she hissed in succulent contempt, which he took as a sign of playful interest. Her slither proved to him a good route hither could be an S. When her jaw unhinged, he felt an uprising in his electrified tail. Her sheer, tubular defiance roused him to horror. Yet her streamlining said to him, simplify, simplify. What point were his knees in their needlessness, his immodesty of claws, the pretense of feet? All of his cranky lizardry now seemed so insipidly small. In the worst way, he wanted her tight squeeze, wrapping him in rapture, and that well-tuned fork of her kissable tongue. As they stared into each other, he felt his eyes unbutton her zigzag of scales. As he watched, she zippered open her skin, shed her old self young again, then stretched and let the sun puff her doughy flesh like the tart she was. In her fiery gaze, the lizard felt himself bending to a river of wet desire, to lip and fang, to kinship, and then her hunger, sudden, feverish, for lizard tail. Okay, well, if that's not enough, here's a short one. Plum season. They ripened unnoticed in that long American summer when kindness withered, when we learned to spit. Our boredom ripened into mean aspirations. Don't be a crybaby. No, you're the stupid crybaby. Then the plums quickened in their ripening and fell. We lobbed some at the cat, but her hiss said she had ripened to become one of us. So we turned to bombing each other, the unripe emptiness of our days made real in green plums hard enough to sting, our mushy blues that hit with a stain of overripe abandon. But as that cat thumped and patted her flea-bag self, a beat of leggy rhythms ripened in us too, found our secret itch of nowhere. The beat rocked, staggered parents. We said, tough, and clicked on those hot, pounding transistor hits. We felt them ripen us to love.